in kind of an ongoing effort to try to get people to understand why we source fruit from Anderson Valley and kind of where Anderson Valley is. A lot of people get it confused with Alexander Valley, and so just to give you
Yeah.
just to give you an idea of where it's located. I mean, we're at Copan here. You can pause it, Jen. And so Anderson Valley is up north of Anderson Valley. Alexander Valley is kind of over here. Usually we have this, we're kind of having some technical issues here, but we're, to give you an idea of where the Anderson Valley is located by comparison to where Copan is. It's about an hour and a half north of here. It's about a 18-mile appellation. It runs southeast to northwest, and you know, I pretty much followed Ted Lemon up there. For those of you who may know the wines from Guthrie, I'm a big fan of his wines, and when I was working at the Spectator back in '95, '96, yeah, I became a big fan of his. So I figured if I wanted to make Pinot Noir, I wanted to make it from Anderson Valley. So since then, since '99 was our first vintage, and have subsequently kind of worked our way around the valley, but making different wines from different parts of Anderson Valley. But as it's kind of happened over the years, it kind of allowing the wines to kind of dictate where we're going through the valley. And it's interesting, as I've evolved in the winemaking, it's also kind of noticing the different flavor profiles that come from different aspects and different vineyards in Anderson Valley and the different microclimates that are there. So part of what I'm telling you is still an ongoing kind of evolution of my own education, but I'll give you what I can so far distilled today. So it's, I'm going to go ahead and go, Jared. So nobody gets sick here, hopefully.
Wow.
I told you. So there's...
Yipes. Oh, now I'm getting sick.
So there's three, basically you call them hardly towns, but Boonville's the biggest. There's Philo and Navarro, and this kind of comprises the entire valley. So this is kind of looking at it from a geological standpoint. The valley kind of runs as it's kind of as a ladle. It's higher elevation down in Boonville. It gets lower elevation. And following as the Navarro River splits off and goes to the ocean, it starts to pick back up again. So the vineyard we have, Kaiser, which is the last vineyard in the appellation, that sits kind of at the same elevation that it does in Boonville. So most of you know that cold air flows like water, so it tends to back up, dampness in the valley, kind of work its way up. Thereby kind of Navarro being the coldest end of the valley. Not only is it closer to the ocean proximity-wise, but then at night when that cold air does settle, it does settle down in the Navarro area first. Both of these mountain ranges, there's mountain ranges on both sides at about 3,500 feet is kind of the peak elevation. So it kind of funnels this cold air in from the Mendocino coast down through the valley. So I'm going to continue to go. Sure. Okay, let me stop it now. You can't really see the valley. The ridge lines are here, and our resolution here is not great on the screen, but there's a lot of low-lying foothills here that kind of buffer the wind coming into the valley. Those of you familiar with Santa Rita, most of our coastal influence here is what creates I guess an environment for us to grow Pinot Noir, and that's again the same thing with Santa Rita, but it's a perfect example of an east-west transverse. It perfectly runs west to east, and that hot air in the valley kind of starts pulling in the marine layer, pulls in the air, the really brisk winds that come up about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Whereas Anderson Valley, for up here, these winds are kind of buffered by these low-lying foothills there. So about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the cold air starts to come into the valley, but it's kind of buffered and kind of more swirling as opposed to this direct kind of impact as it's shut down the vines. So you get the cooling effect we want, but not that kind of beating that the vines take in some other appellations. So again, this will give you an idea of, this is also looking from southeast to northwest, looking out over to the Mendocino coast. Populator. You want to pause it, Jen? Jeez. So So we didn't highlight all that, the different sub-appellations, but there's basically Boonville appellation, kind of Philo, and there's a small one called Riley Heights, which is basically where we're getting the lay of Lausanne. So some of you had the lay of Lausanne lines, that's it's coming from this deep end of the valley. The intervalley itself is all basically sandstone, Franciscan series, and basically the vineyard designates we have are all basically different formations of that, ranging from different kind of friabilities, from loosely kind of held together sandstone to decomposing sandstone like we have at Kaiser. So it's compressed sandstone now, it's been raised up, and now it's decomposing. So we can't zoom out on this, but the Pacific plate that's kind of diving into the North American plate has kind of, as it was subversing underneath the North American plate, top layers are being scraped off, and that's where most of the Mendocino and the coastal ridges that we see in California, especially in the North Coast, are kind of just the top layer of that being scraped off. So it's old marine sediment that's been basically just deposited, but so it creates a very, I got call it like a fruitcake type of, that's what they keep calling it, like there's not really defined stratifications that you typically see. For instance, in Burgundy, for example, it's a continental climate, but it's very defined sedimentary layers, whereas opposed to for along the coast, when you kind of get to have these millions of years just kind of being scraped off as, again, the plate's kind of subversing underneath the North American plate. It just keeps kind of crumbling over and creating these different ridge lines. So we kind of have created really diverse soil types, but trying to analyze these and find out where they are, and it's been difficult at best. So we're working with a geologist now that was, as soon as this rain stopped, which is about now, you can get up into the vineyards and start digging some soil pits and do a better analysis of the soils that we do have. And that's kind of the next step for us, is trying to, we've pinpointed like Anderson Valley, it's cold climate, it's sandstone in different formations, but then trying to go deeper within that. And